Hello, I'm Diana Kanecki, founder and president of Kanecki Art, as well as a serial entrepreneur founder of Kanecki Associates and DKA Strategic Branding Incorporated. Today, I'd like to talk about um, how not to get used and how to get over being used. Um, the thing is, when someone is used, you can tell because basically there's something that goes on within you, and I mean you know exactly what the issues are, and like for the biggest thing that happens is everyone has heard about the five stages: denial and isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Um, I've been used. I've run into transactional people who've only have called me or wanted to talk with me or be with me because they had a purpose that they want something for me to do. I thought it was friendship, but it really wasn't. Um, the point is that okay, so someone has been used. So someone has only contacted you transactionally. They only call you or contact you if they want something. Like for example, you're the brain, you're the geek, you're the duff, or as what's known as the dumb, ugly um, uh, first friend. To get to someone, there's a movie that's made about that, which emphasized the good points of Evanston as well as Mean Girls as well. Um, the thing is, um, okay, so once you realize that you are being used or being only contacted transactionally, like someone wants you to do something, but when you ask them, they won't help you at all, even though you've helped them many times. You're not transactional. You're glad to help. You feel something of goodness, something of your spirituality. But or the other thing is you may help someone, and or someone may say, well, they may call you saying, well, I asking like inviting you to a party, but it's not really an invitation. It's really they want again to use your presence. But if you say no, suddenly you're completely out. But other people they know who say no, they make excuses, they defend, they say, oh well, she had this to do or he had that to do. Um, that's example being used or being used as a transactional person. The best thing one can do, what I found out, is move on. Just walk away, move on. Like I did starting February 1st, I cleared my phone database, I cleared my Facebook, I went through and even started a second Facebook page. The reason is because you have a better future. Your future is positive. You have many things you can do, and that's what I discovered as well. And that is that there are many things that can be done. You don't have to accept being used or being a second class person. You have you have your own self, and I have my own self. Um, with creative class people and people who are intellectual, even if they're 18 or my age, a few years past my 29th birthday, we still experience people who have a higher emotional intelligence and who misuse it in the way the same way a criminal uses their intelligence to commit a crime. It's not. It's a predatory nature. The thing is, it's not to shut out people. But the thing is, go someplace else. Find another group of people to be with, or sometimes just take time to be by yourself. But when you do realize that you have been used or been taken advantage by a transactional person, the thing is, remember, they can only take advantage of you or use you once. It's like an old robber with a blunderbuss gun. They only get one shot. Once they miss, they start running. And also once they realize that you realize that they've been taking advantage of you, they have to look for other people. Eventually, their stream is going to run out. Your stream is going to keep positive because you are working on positive energy, and positive energy will grow other things and show you other opportunities. But getting over the process can be hard. For example, denial and isolation. You like with me, I said, "Oh well, that's okay. I'm geek. I'm not social enough. I don't have enough social skills." Um, they did have something else to do, and I would have been a third wheel or something. And so, I mean, there are times I isolated myself too, and sometimes isolation is good to clear your mind, to sort of sift out the noise, um, and really, but really just sort of figure out what do you want to do, and just figure out, look at the situation from another point of view. Um, but it's good not to be isolated completely because you have to come out of it. But isolate yourself enough so that you're above the noise, you're above the fray, of the clutter. Fly high like this, and most importantly, get a good breakfast. A good breakfast is important because in my career, when I started as a vice president, I worked as a military contractor and I worked with the Air Force. And one time I was at a meeting and there was an Air Force general there, and he could tell that I hurried and hurried and hurried to get to the meeting. And he saw something. He asked me, he said, "Well, did you have a breakfast?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Hold on." He called the concierge. He held back me and he asked other people, "Did they have a breakfast?" And other people said no as well. And he said, "Folks," he said, "we're not starting this meeting without breakfast." And that was something I talked with my dad about and my mother, and they said, "Well, it's good he did that for everyone because breakfast is really the most important part of the day. Because if you don't have breakfast, you're not prepared mentally, physically, and emotionally to start the day. It's the same with school children when they had the free breakfast program. That was one of the best programs that they ever did. Because if people really want students to learn and improve themselves, if they don't have a good breakfast, how do you expect them to learn? And it's the same thing with the Air Force. So every morning, part of my morning ritual is around 6 o'clock. I have a good breakfast. Um, in the second stage, you get anger about being used. The anger can express itself in many ways. You can yell, you can cry for two nights like I did. And the reason why I say crying is because crying is basically you're you're angry, but the anger is expressed as sadness because you're getting over an emotional shock, and so some people it's easier to cry, some it's not, and that's the third thing is bargaining. Well, with me, it was like, well, maybe if I give in a little bit, maybe if I don't, if I say, well, I agree with this political viewpoint that this is right, even though it's not. I won't watch these TV news channels. And I tried that with a former friend when I was in Evanston. Doesn't work. The problem is the person kept on pushing and pushing, trying to convert me, trying to um, make me into his puppet or something else, and it just doesn't work. I mean, the thing is, you have to be yourself, and when you do bargain too much, it does lead to depression. And what can happen, like with me in Evanston, when I was started to bargain too much, I started to sleep more during the day. I didn't get as much done. I even walking up the L on Dempster to the CTA, I get winded walking up to the last step because that's how much the depression had caused me to sleep and not exercise fully. I still have some exercises I need to do to get back to my a better size, but I'm getting there. Um, Finally, what happens? It's like what I started to realize. Not February 1st when I was still trying getting escaping the situation, isolating myself from the situation, but um, getting a few months later, more like about April, I started to accept, and even but the real acceptance didn't come until last week. It was almost a 3 month process, but the real acceptance came was okay. I have been used again. I have been taken advantage of transactionally again. Okay, well, fine. That those people who did it um, can find someone else because I won't be there. But I'm not going to be mean. But I won't be there. Um, but another thing what a friend of mine taught me, um, who was actually younger and will be and just starting college is she showed me something I had forgotten. She made an observation about also regarding this 5 stages, but another thing regarding the what Bob Proctor calls the law of attraction. If you are in a bad area or you're in a bad situation, other people will become attracted to negative people or others. If you are with a good person who is positive and you embrace the two of you embrace that positive together, you will attract positive. And that's what a friend of mine found out um, from, and she taught me something else too. Is what I sort of forgot about and it's also what my partner Sandy mentioned too. Is don't get too comfortable. When you get too comfortable, you accept the using, you accept the transactional context. Oh, hi. Were you? How are you doing? Are you? How's everything? And, oh, can you help me move, or can you help me do this problem, or can you help me resolve this issue? Um, you can say, oh, sure, but then what happens when you call them the same thing? Well, I was wondering, could you give me a ride? Could you give me a ride to a doctor's appointment? Oh, you're busy. This isn't a good time. Okay, well, I understand. Really, that's um, you know, um, I. The point is, some people are just trying to get people to do things for free. They're cheap, and they're and whether it's using your knowledge or something else, or someone, if there's a problem, some people say, well, oh, why don't you write an outline and we'll submit it to the board? Well, if you're going to have to be a consultant and write an outline, you should get paid. And you should get paid as a consultant. Since this is a short-term project, you should get paid to make sure that you pay for your Social Security, your taxes, and also an income until you get your last project plus vacation as needed. Um, the, when you do decide to finally cut the cord, uh, take out the low deck, so throw those people that aren't gonna that are using you or being transactional out in the garbage can, or trim your Facebook list, or even drop certain social media accounts because there's too many to trim. Do it. Um, because something I learned, which I forgot, when I left Evanston February 1st, um, the person I was with, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that Sunday morning I couldn't I was done. I did not want to be taken advantage of. I didn't want to be used transaction. I didn't want to be converted. over to this point of view and give up who I am. Um, so, and I didn't, and also I didn't, I had the least amount of resources to do it. I mean, if I would have thought about lashing, I didn't have hardly anything to do it, but I knew I had to do it. I had $4 for Metro Train, and I had about $2.50 for drink at Barnes and Noble in Sherman. And what I did was the first thing I realized I need, where can I go as a safe place? And in Evanston, the Barnes and Noble for me was always a safe place, and Barnes and Noble is always a safe place. Then, when I was able to sit down, get out there, I looked, when's the next Metro train? Then finally, after I was able to sit down and go through the 5 stages, and accept that I had been in a bad situation, I needed to call for help. That's when I called, and I called Women Children's Horizons, and they said, yes, we can help, but we don't have any rooms available until tomorrow. And I said, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. But the thing is, I had to get out there that day. So what I did was took the train up, got to Kenosha, took it step by step. The hard part was basically at night because I had to stay in a warming center until the next morning. And um, and also I wasn't fully dressed for the weather at that time because I was used to just walking to the condo and walking back and forth to Barnes and Noble, just a few minutes outdoors and then go back indoors. The thing is, you have to realize you have your own creativity. Just because you are a creative class person and you are an intellectual, it does not mean that you have a duty to solve everyone's problems. You you can help when you wish to, but you don't have a duty. Someone can't say to you, "Well, you're the brain. It's up to you to solve this problem." No, it is not. It's up to everybody to do their part. But what happens when someone points at you and says, you need to solve that, that person is using you. Because what happens, they know that, but the thing is, if you were to ask them to do something, they wouldn't do it. When someone really needs help, they will not point you, they will not say, you're the brain, you're the intellectual, solve this problem, or also they won't act passively aggressive towards you or speak behind your back in that. So the thing is, try to remember you are a creative class person. You have a lot of creativity. The other thing to remember though is you have to be your own referee, umpire, because sometimes when you are in a social situation, the umpires are really umpires for the opposing side. It's like a baseball game. Someone may appoint someone to be home plate umpire. And this was an old Andy Griffith episode. Andy Griffith was appointed to be the home plate umpire for a baseball game because the other umpire couldn't make it. And it was 2 towns playing each other in a bit of rivalry. Well, what happened was the game was going on, and it was a close game. When the other village won the game, everyone in town at that point looked at Andy Griffith and said, "Oh, you went against the town. You didn't call that person out." And what he said was, he said that person was safe, and he said, "Oh, well, you should have still called him out because you should have supported our town." And and what he finally said was he finally came out and he went through the 5 stages and he acceptance. He said, first, I didn't want to accept the position to be umpire. I accepted it anyway, even though you cajoled me to do this. And also, I called it as I saw it, and that's what an umpire is supposed to do. Fortunately, one person who was a newspaper man and a good one heard this, and he wrote an article next day, and he wrote an article which the community may have become angry with him because he was honest. He said, "Well, he said you expected Andy to be the umpire and to rule in our favor for us." And he says, "Would you really want to win the game because someone bent the rules to rule in your favor?" And that's an example. And the article went on to say that you wanted to use him to have Mayberry win the game. The point is, in that story, everyone realized that they had used Andy to be the umpire, and they all apologized. In real life, sometimes people do, sometimes they don't. Um, don't hold your breath. People may apologize, people may not. Move on with your life. That is only temporary. Move on, do something else, and try to figure out what you need to do. The thing is, you're better if you do move on because that lifts a lot of baggage. You don't have to worry about, well, okay, go through this 5 stages again, and and keep going through this spinning wheel of being used, um, and also when you do move on, you set up a positive field of acceptance and a positive field of attraction. And with the positive field of attraction, everyone will see that. They'll see, look, there's a difference in you. It's not necessarily how you dress or how you look. It's how you present yourself, your aura, or your spirit, as some would say. You will have a way how to do this, and people will be more will come to you not because they want to use you or have you do something transact. It's because they really want to be along with you. They want to be your friend. They may want to be your partner later in life. Um, that's and that's what happens when you set up a positive field and you break away and just say no. Like they say with the drugs, just say no to those who are using you or just calling you transactionally. And like the one person, friend, she taught me something as well. She did something that I even had forgot in 3 months' time. She made a decision and she did it, and I give her credit for that. And that's something I realized. You can't always say, well, what's the next step going to be? Sometimes you do have to take a leap of faith, and when you have a positive attitude, you will succeed. Um, to give you an example of what I feel is one of the best things regarding the creative class is I like to read something. This was written um, many times, and also this was Steve Jobs' famous speech, but I like to give my interpretation. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, um, hackers, white hat hackers, people who challenge things, people who in small towns point out, say, oh, there's that person again because they do challenge things. The ones who see things differently, they're not found the rules and have no respect for the status quo. The reason why is because when the rules are wrong, when the rules are one-sided, when the rules are hypocritical, yes, it's perfectly right not to have respect for the rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. And what people will do is people will try to do that to get someone who is creative and a misfit, a rebel, a square peg, to change and conform. But only use intelligence according transactionally or in being used. Don't allow that to happen to you. But one thing you can't do is ignore them, which is true, because many people are afraid to change. Some people are afraid to make waves, as they say in the Navy, but make waves, change, because that's how you improve yourself. When I worked at SDS, another general I met, I was a when he came, he said, well, he said, we heard about you. You're a Mustang, meaning that I am a rebel, and because I made a comment about how to improve. But he also saw something too. He said, well, you need to get your confidence back up. He said, look, he said, I didn't become a general by just sitting at the desk, shuffling papers and not questioning or not taking initiative. You, if you're going to do that, you're a robot. You're not going to get promoted. You're not going to do. You'll just stay where you are and just, or maybe, and eventually when you feel your time is done, out the pasture, boom. And that's what happens with the IT field when people do get stagnant. They throw them out the pasture now at 35. It used to be 45. Um, because to continue, because they changed things, they pushed the human race forward. And while some may see them as crazy ones, we see them as genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. When I heard that and saw the ad, my dad and my parents were alive back then. And I remember my parents had a big smile as I did because that had meant that basically the original idea, creativity, as well as someone who had gone through being used transactionally, made a comeback and he was able to revitalize Apple and a lot of other things that we think about. Um, Also, Steve Jobs dressed in a uniform. He dressed in blue jeans or dressed in a stand. But the thing is, when you heard him say it, you could tell in his voice that he meant it and that he lived it. He went through those stages. He went through people trying to force him out because when Apple was first formed, he was forced out. And but what he did was. Um, that he probably went through the stages and also he also thought of a better idea, the next computer. I mean, and some may say, well, have different arguments about the next, but the thing is, you have to make a prototype. You can't always go right into production. If someone says, well, oh, this is a bad idea because we can't produce it right away, many things are done by a prototype. Um, Henry Ford, when he made his first car, the Oldsmobile, um, the first engine was a prototype. He worked on it, got it working. He saw that this engine worked. He said, okay, now he took it to the next stage, another prototype, which he drove around Detroit and um, and there. Another thing to consider though too is when Apple was first, the Apple One was first made. Again, it was a prototype. It was taken to the Homebrew Computer Club, shown, and before. So the thing is, you have to do something to start, and don't ever let people say, because you're intelligent or you're the creative class, oh, you're the crazy one, you're the misfit, you're the rebel. Good, call me that. I'm proud to have that label. Because I will, if I see something that needs change, I will do the change, and I hope others will follow my example if they feel inclined to, but I will not force them to. The thing is, you have a lot of intellectual ability. You're an intelligent person, and the thing is, intelligent people are easy to get picked on because we are normally the last ones to develop our emotional intelligence. We have it, but basically we've been used so many times that it's been pushed off to the side and let it come out. Let it come out. Socialize, but what happens if a social situation isn't right? Just pick up your things, walk away. Um, Simple as that. And also, if you have to find a new area to set up and do things, find a new area. It's not that hard. It's easy. Um, And always think of things in the positive. The positive will get you anyway. Remember, um, go through the 5 stages. Fine, go through them. But the thing is, um, once you realize how to recognize that when people are trying to use you, when people are trying to be transactional, you won't have to go through those 5 stages as much as you had to in the past. You may not have to go through them for a long period of time. But just to summarize how people use people or use people transactionally. Whenever someone calls you, most of the time, do they call you to ask you to do something? A second thing is when you call another person for help after helping them many times, is it always the wrong time or is it always not they're busy or they can't? A third thing, when a person wants to meet with you, will they go out socially with you? Will they go out to Wendy's? Will they go out to Barnes and Noble? Will they go out to McDonald's with you and share lunch with you when others are present and can see you? Or do they just want to meet privately, in your apartment or their apartment, or in an isolated area? In addition, what happens when you say no? Are you made to feel shunned, ostracized? Are you made to feel like, oh, you did a bad thing by saying no? Well, if you answered yes to any one of those questions, someone is using you or using you transactionally. That is not a friend. That is not an acquaintance. Um, and if someone is going to do that to you, that's a case where someone wants you to do something for them and not compensate for you. No, don't do it. I mean, people do things for people who aren't friends, but however they're compensated. Like when you go to McDonald's and you order a Coca-Cola, you don't say, well, can you give me a free Coca? Can you give me a Coca-Cola just because you're my friend? No, it's $1.06 for that Coca-Cola because in that case, it is a transactional relationship. You pay your money, you get your product. Um, and that's the only valid use of a transactional relationship is in business or in a contract. But using it to disguise as friendship or an acquaintance, no, that's a predator. That's someone who's abusing someone. So remember, you are creative. You have a lot of ability. And to a friend who's just starting college, thank you for also teaching me something as well. The point is keep the creativity. And remember, you don't have a duty to solve all the world's problems or to solve someone else's problems just because someone says you have to. You have a choice, and also be your own referee. Try to always work on a higher level. Never go down to the lower level. Like if someone swears or something else, don't swear back. You don't have to. I mean, speak at the higher level. Um, and also, if someone says talks behind your back, again, lower level, don't do that. And keep a positive attitude. Um, the thing is, it can be hard sometimes, and also it can be lonely. You may feel alone, but you're not. There are others who do respect you and also watch from a distance because they they you are a leader to them, and just keep moving forward, keep doing things positively. Um, I'm interested in what you think. I post my video links on Twitter at Diana1A and also on my YouTube channel at Diana K on YouTube. So let me know what you think. And remember, keep positive, and here's to the crazy ones.